Hello everybody and welcome to episode 60 of the Casual Gamecast, a weekly video game podcast for the everyday gamer, brought to you by the team at Casual Game Content. I'm Phil Keogh.
I'm Shane Bowe.
And this week we have got a quick ass show for you because we just don't have time to do anything more than that. So we are going to, one, hit you with what we've been playing this week, then a quick break where you're going to hear about our socials and maybe hear a little ad, then two, you are going to hear about what we think was worth talking about in the news this week. Then, my friends, we are getting up on that giddy ant horse and we're just going to ride out into the sunset. That's going to be the end of it, right? And you're going to let us know whether the short form is actually better than the long form. It'll be an experiment. Listen to the whole show. Give us your feedback. But as such, we're not going to do the question of the week at the end. We're not going to do what are you watching. We're just going to get in, get out. It's going to be great. So Shane, on that note, how are you? How's your week been?
My week's been grand. It's been fairly standard. I don't have anything exciting to talk about, so I am not going to hang around here and be like, oh, I did this, I did that, I did the other. No, I've nothing to talk about. It was a standard week. Good luck.
Good stuff. Good stuff. The only thing I was going to talk about in this section, and I'll try and keep it brief, is I have been super excited by a gaming project, and I reached out to you because you work in the gaming retailer whose name we shall not speak, because I wanted to price some stuff. But essentially I have an arcade machine in my sitting room that is hooked up to an Xbox 360 that, for reasons I can't explain quickly, couldn't be upgraded to a newer model, like an Xbox One, an Xbox Series, so on. And it couldn't really be upgraded to anything else because the controllers that were wired into the buttons were essentially the worst possible type. Now, I'm on the internet the other night, and this pops into my brain, and I go, oh, I wonder what that company, Brook, that does all the gaming converters, that, you know, people who do esports use their stuff a lot, you know. And I thought, what are these guys doing these days? And lo and behold, this summer they came up with a game board that you can wire anything to that will play pretty much anything in any console that Microsoft has ever made. So essentially I can now take my buttons, connect them to these pins, and then all of a sudden, boom, I can put in any Xbox I want, including the Series X and Series S. So I am absolutely elated by this. I ordered two immediately. They're coming on Monday. I'm going to rip everything out. I'm going to put it back in. I've got a hold of a new monitor that's going to be 120 hertz for this. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be a next gen arcade machine in the sitting room, playing Tekken 7, playing Mortal Kombat 11, playing whatever the hell is coming up, playing anything that comes on Game Pass for the laugh on an arcade machine. I am super excited.
I was going to say this sounds like a really fancy way to like emulate Super Mario Brothers, but you're going to play Tekken, you're going to play all that stuff, so like it sounds fun and it sounds great for like friends over. Let's jump on the arcade machine and, like, you know, play a few rounds Tekken, winner stays on or whatever.
Yeah,
that sounds like super fun.
Yeah, that's the plan. But we'll see, because this type of stuff always has a habit of going wrong at the last second. But let's stay positive, all right, Shane? Now, with all that being said, you have nothing, I had that. Let's get the hell into what we've been playing this week. So, if you don't mind, play that thing.
All right, stranger. What are you playing?
So, Shane, what have you been playing this very week?
I have been playing some Far Cry 6.
Ooh, oh, interesting. What do you think of it?
Yeah, strap in. I have some thoughts.
Okay, hold on. For the video listeners, I am now click in. Go.
This is going to be a dangerous journey. No. Right. So my first thought is Far Cry 6 is a really good game. It's just not a very good Far Cry game.
Is that almost sounds like it's kind of against what I'm hearing, because like everybody is just saying it's another Far Cry game.
It is, but it is starting to lose some of its Far Cry-ness, if you get me. It's starting to lean more into GTA Just Cause territory.
Okay, explain.
So, like, playing the game like I'd normally play a Far Cry, I'm very much a stealthy boy. That's what I like to do. I like to go in as stealthy as possible until all hell breaks loose and I have to whip out a machine gun and fucking blast everything.
Yep, I've always told people you're sneaky.
Yeah, exactly. Stealth is kind of not much of a viable option anymore, I find, so far. even though I'm kind of specking for stealth with my gear, and I've got the bow and arrow, and I've like in Far Cry recently you can get little like animal companions to help you and stuff. I have like the stealthy companion and everything, and like I seem to, no matter what I do, instantaneously get spotted all the time. And when you instantaneously get spotted, like you think, oh, I've spotted, maybe if I take out that guy they'll stop searching for me, whatever. Every time I get spotted, it's like getting 5 stars in GTA. Tanks show up, helicopters descend from the sky, dudes start parachuting in like Spec Ops lads, and it's like, this is insane. This is absolutely, like, it's too much when you get caught, or when the alarm goes off or whatever. It's not like, oh, the alarm goes off, here's a car full of boys with extra guns. It's like, no, here is an Apache helicopter and 4 tanks.
Yeah, because like Far Cry 5 wasn't that. It was like another van would roll up with 6 dudes in it or something.
Yeah, and that's grand. You throw a couple of throwing knives at them or whatever, you sneak around, you hide a bit, and they kind of lose sight of you. This time, even with hiding, they tend to, like, it seems like they search a lot harder as well. Like, I'll give you a prime example, okay? And then we can move on from my Far Cry point. I really am enjoying it, by the way.
Okay.
Just so the listeners and the watchers at home know, I'm not just crapping all over Far Cry. It is a super fun, like, murder sandbox, go kill everything and have the crack and jump off cliffs and parachute and stuff. I was walking down the street, and in the game, an NPC or a main character recommends that when you're on like main roads and stuff, to holster your weapons, because the paramilitary force doesn't like to see people with weapons.
Okay.
Fine. I step out into a main road, I forget to holster my weapon. A jeep drives by with a military dude. One military dude. So it's me, one guy with a gun, and one military dude. He steps out of the jeep, goes, hey, you can't have a weapon here or whatever, put it away or something. I don't really pay attention to him, I don't put away the weapon. All of a sudden, he shoots a flare into the air to call for an attack helicopter as support. It is just me, this dude. He has a gun, I have a gun. And all of a sudden, he's calling for an attack helicopter because I'm one guy with a gun.
Nice.
Like, that's extreme. And I think they want you to kind of play it extremely as well. They want you to run around like a crazy maniac with rocket launchers and jump into tanks and steal helicopters. And I get all this Just Cause feeling from it, because Just Cause is just about blowing everything up all the time. It's like a action movie with a hard on. It's ridiculous. And
as opposed to your flaccid action movies.
Yes, exactly. That's what Far Cry this iteration of Far Cry feels like to me. And I am enjoying it, yes, but I'm enjoying it for what it is, not for a Far Cry game.
I cannot think of a single Far Cry game where I even attempted stealth.
No, I like to do the stealth. I like to go with
Far
the
Cry
bow and
1.
arrow and
Far Cry 1 maybe, because there was a lot of like sneaking up on 2 lads from underneath like a bridge or something, and there was a bit of that. But like ever since Far Cry 2, it's been like all guns blazing as far as, and I think that's what the series is kind of known for. So like I'm not surprised to hear that it's kind of like escalated that a bit,
But in the other games, 3 and 4 and 5, I could always use stealth as a viable option if I so choose.
Yeah, if you so choose. I think
but
the
now
most
it kind of,
sorry, go ahead.
It just kind of seems like it's sort of taken away from me a little bit now.
I get you.
It seems like it's forcing me to play it the other way.
It strapped a rocket launcher on your back, dude. I think you should have expected this.
True. It also does a really weird thing when you're in like your home base. You can upgrade your home base where you get missions and crap like this. And every time you step into the home base, the game goes into third person. For no reason whatsoever. Just while you walk around the base and talk to different vendors and get missions and everything.
So
it
it's
just
like,
goes into third person.
It's the opposite of Anthem.
Basically, yeah. Yeah, it's like, but I don't see the reason. Is it just to see the outfit your character's wearing? Because
maybe
all your stats are tied to your stupid outfits, which is a ridiculous system.
Yeah, that's something I wouldn't be happy with in a Far Cry game either, is having to stop and upgrade all that crap all the time. Like,
you don't even upgrade it. It's just you have to switch clothes on the fly.
But that's what I'm saying.
Like,
that's what I mean. Is that like you're upgrading your pants by putting on new pants? Do you know what I mean? And constantly by the sounds of things. And like it was bad enough when I had to skin 12 badgers to get in wallet or whatever. But now it's like, that's too much. It probably is for that exact reason, because like I've often said it that like these first-person shooters that lean so heavily into the loot system. I think Destiny is the only good example. Like, I can't think of, like, most of them you never see the character unless it's like a replay or something. It's just specifically for other people to see it. So then when you're playing a one-player game, it's even more stupid. So that's probably the justification. Anyway, Far Cry 5 seems like a resounding, okay.
like I said, super fun game, just not super fun as a Far Cry game.
Cool.
But if you just go into it going, I'm not playing a Far Cry game. Well, for me, I'm not playing a Far Cry game. I'm playing a Just Cause GTA style, sandboxy shooter, kill everything game. Great crack, absolute banter.
Yeah, it sounds like it'd be up my alley, so because that's exactly how I play those games.
Well then, yeah, maybe it's where to go.
Awesome. I might try it out. If we were to talk about what I played this week, I haven't played anything new at all. I've played more Tales of Ryze, and my heart is still belonging to that game. It is wonderful. The mechanics have just been laying on more and more, and I've not been rubbed the wrong way by a single one of them. It's been glorious. I get so addicted to the fighting mechanics. Like, it's such a good brawler. Like, in the turn-based, like for lack of turn-based fighting, it's now a hack and slash or whatever, but you have many people, and there's so many different kinds of combos. Like, you have your combos, and then there's your other people's combos. But then if you both fight in specific ways, you can do different combos, and there's like 5 different kinds of those, and they all have variations. And there's so much juggling going on that you're never not pressing a button for like a split second. So like, you're just, it's pure adrenaline, and it's fantastic. And then you layer on what I love about RPGs, which is like a massive story, sweeping worlds, all this stuff. It's really got its hooks in me. But Tales of Ryze, as I talked about last week, is great. Other thing I play more of is Back 4 Blood. Played that with CGC alumni James Desmond last night, and it was the same couple of levels I played every time I play this game, because you can't jump into another session midway. Like, when you join a game, you have to start from the beginning. Unless you have the same people that you left off on, you have to start from the beginning. And I've done that first couple of levels multiple times now. And it's good. It's fun if you have people with you. I could never imagine playing that game by myself. But it's interesting, because like, I will give it this, is from what I understand, as I said, I've played the same couple of levels multiple times. Not to repeat myself, but the reason I'm saying that is the card system that they've introduced did mean that every single time it did feel different.
Yes.
So that's replay value right there. Like, I was forced into witnessing the replay value essentially, but it does have it. Like, those cards that, you're getting these debuffs at the start of every round, and they can completely change the scenario, and it's very interesting in that way. So I think people who like it are going to love it, and I think people who just wanted more Left 4 Dead might be, a bit so on it because of this card system. But I think, honestly, overall, it has made it a better game. Whether the actual game behind it is better, though, is the big question.
How does like you say, you've replayed the first couple of levels a lot. Is it like a party votes for a level, or you have to literally start at the start of the
It's a campaign.
level, and there's the campaign.
You start from the beginning and you work your way up.
Right. Apologies. I just assumed it would have been a multiplayer, like, horde shooter, that it was just, pick a map and away you go.
There might be a way of doing that, or maybe in the future they'll do that if there isn't. But any way I've played it so far has just been you start at level 1 and you work your way up to level whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
That escaped me. I didn't really understand that, but now I know better.
Yeah, but that's where the card system comes in, because if you're playing level 1 10 times, each time something will be different about it.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, I understand the card system. I assumed it was just a map-based shooter.
Yeah. Like a Call of Duty Zombies or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Pick your keynote or Totten or whatever the hell it was called, and away you go.
Yes. Good times. And then the only thing that I have been playing this week that because of the arcade machine stuff that's happening when those parts come in this week, I wanted to just fire up the old arcade machine again and just see what was on it again and just remember what's there so that I can bring it over hopefully into the new one. And I've been playing a lot of Super Meat Boy on the arcade machine again. That game it just slaps. It's so good. Shut up.
The CGC dog of barking.
The CGC official dog of barking. Dear God, like, I thought when I got that dog a couple of months ago when it was a pup, that I was like, oh, this won't last forever. Every day. Anyway.
Yeah.
Super Meat Boy, especially on an arcade machine. I think like it's funny. The game it's themed around. I don't know how much of it you remember, but it's like
I played a lot of Super Meat Boy not that long ago, actually.
Oh really?
Yeah, maybe like a year and a half ago. It was like possibly on PlayStation Plus, or it was free on something or other. So I played a bit of it just because I never played it originally, and I was like, Super Meat Boy. Now I can jump in and see what this is all about.
Yeah. It's so good for when it came out, and it's such a pity that they just didn't make a straight sequel. But like it's so tight. The music slaps, and like I have that like subwoofer in the arcade machine as well, so it's like it's thumping, like it's so it feels so good. It's like 2 buttons for the most part, so like it just plays really well with like an arcade stick or whatever. And then the whole thing is like a love letter to video games. So like there's some levels that are bonus levels that are themed like a Game Boy, and then there's some that are themed like a Mega Drive, and you're unlocking other characters from other games, and you adopt their mechanics when you do so. But in a lot of situations it is kind of skinned as if it is an arcade machine game, even though it never was, to my own knowledge. So like playing it then in that form factor, it's kind of like it makes you feel like it should have always been like this, so yeah, I think I'm going to lose a lot of the following year anytime I want to like stand up, play a video game, have a beer, kicking the absolute crap out of the side of my arcade machine because I'm just going every time I die.
Yeah. Well, running a few levels of Meat Boy when you're having a beer does sound like a bit of fun, and it's a good way to slowly chip away at that game until eventually you get near the end, because that's not a game you can play a lot of in one sitting because of the frustration level.
No. If you especially when you get later on into the game, if you can beat like 2 or 3 levels, like they're kind of good for the night.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
For sure. But that, I think, unless you have anything else, is what we've been playing.
Nope. That's been me.
Okay, well, guys, that has been a spelt 17 minutes. Let's move the hell on into the break. Then we're going to come back and tell you what has happened in the news this week that we personally care about. But with all that being said, play that thing. Hey there. If you want to keep up with all things casual game content, you can do so in a number of ways. The easiest way to do so is to follow us on all of our socials at Casual Game Co. Not content, because you only get 15 characters, but hey, what can you do? At Casual Game Co. That's at CASUALGAMECO. Can't be any simpler than that. On Twitter, on Instagram, and on Facebook. And when you're at Facebook, look for the group, the Casual Game Community. It's a good bunch. We're going to love you. Come on by. If you could do us a massive favor, like the podcast, review the podcast, and just tell a friend about the podcast. It goes a long way, and you can find all of our content on podcast forums wherever you get your podcasts by searching for Casual Game Cast. Thanks again for all of your help and all of your support. It means the absolute world to us. Now, back to the show. And we are back. Now, Shane, as we said, we are going to have a quick cast this week. So we're not going to delve too deeply into anything, even though we don't generally anyway. If you're new to the podcast, we don't exactly take out the Sunday paper and read every article to you. That's not how we do things around here, damn it. What we do is we have a look, we see what happened in the news week, we keep track of it as it happens, and then we bring whatever we feel was worth talking about to this podcast. Because if you want the full in-depth newscast, of course you can get that 100 places, but this is just what we wanted to talk about, so god damn it, we're going to talk about it. So Shane, what has been happening this week, dude?
Some stuff, some things. I'm going to start with one that leaves me with some mixed emotions.
Okay.
Elden Ring has been delayed.
Who couldn't have seen that coming?
I know, right? Now, it's only a month, so,
So that puts it at what, February?
February. February is already stacked with games, so something's going to give, because there's like 5 huge releases in February.
How many games in February do you think now are kind of turning around going, oh crap, there's a new Dark Souls out in our window now?
I know, right? I know. It's nuts. But yeah, I have mixed emotions, because game delays are always good normally, because it gives them that time to put that extra polish on things. but I have to wait an extra month for Elden Ring. And I was really looking forward to that, like, post-Christmas, January blues, having a nice FromSoft game to get stuck into in those awful, chilly January nights.
Yeah, as lovely as that image is. Especially because it would have came out, like, the week of our birthdays.
Yeah, it would have been a nice birthday present. Now it's coming out around my anniversary with the missus, so that might not go down so well. I'm like, oh, sorry, gotta play Elden Ring.
Sorry, it's out of my hands. Like, I
know
know we're planning a wedding, but
you knew what you were getting for when you got with me, like this, like, FromSoft comes first. I'm sorry.
My first wave. But yeah, no, that's one you're going to have to deal with on your own, my friend. I don't have any advice for you there. But yeah, and did they say why? Or is it just...
It's just to put some, like, a final spit shine on things, and they plan to have like a closed or an invitation only beta for like a network stress test in November, which I might sign up for, but I haven't really in the past. I kind of like to experience the game as a whole.
Yes.
When it comes to FromSoft stuff, I'm not big on entering their betas and playing a level or two, because it gets me too excited then as well, and I'm like, I have to wait more for this now, so I just leave it alone.
And then you have to do it all over again. It is what I find the most annoying.
Yes.
Yeah, big no for me whenever it comes to like betas and like even demos for the most part. I'm just like, nope. Like, if one's coming out and I'm interested, the first thing I will always do is type into Google, will my progress carry? And if the answer is no, no bueno, not happening. I'm not going to play the lesser version of it to then play the better version of it again. Like, nah, fuck that. But yeah, that is both good and bad, so hopefully we get a better game as a result. That kind of ties in, I guess, to some CD Projekt Red news, where apparently the next gen versions of both The Witcher and even Cyberpunk are getting pushed out also into 2022.
Yeah, they are indeed. I'm not 100% sure why. I seen the kind of headline
because they're running around their offices like Muppets with their hands in the air going for the last year.
That too, yeah, that too. But like, there's obviously an official reason. I just haven't read too much into this. I seen the headline and I was actually kind of like, I'm holding out on a replay of The Witcher for the next gen.
Me
version.
too. Well, the last DLC anyway.
I was kind of hoping maybe we might get it around the time of, Witcher on Netflix, or, in around Christmas time, maybe when I wasn't playing anything and I could go, I'll jump back into Witcher and,
that's
see
true.
all its fanciness.
That's true. So like they're going to miss out on a lot of money for not releasing around Christmas when, that next season comes out.
Exactly. I don't even really care about Cyberpunk. It's Witcher that I care about in this news story. Like, Cyberpunk is whatever. Like, I will play it at some stage out of morbid curiosity. But, like, I don't care if I play that game 5 years from now.
Yeah, you're better off. Like, I've looked at, I've played it on Xbox Series X and a little bit mostly on Xbox One X and a little bit on Series X. And it does look pretty good. The issue is, though, when you look at, like, PC footage of it running on, like, a beefy PC, it's like to CD Projekt's credit, like, it is unbelievable looking. Like, it's so good looking, but when you put that on a console, it becomes grimy and it becomes unpleasant to look at the best of times. If you're not into the Cyberpunk aesthetic, you're not going to find a lot to like here. But in the PC version, it's just dripping with like amazing lighting, and it's just so good. It's hard to describe. So like, if these next gen ports deliver like even half of that, then that's something to look forward to. I would even sacrifice my frame rate down to 30 for that, because it looks so good. But yeah, we'll see. It is a pity, and they're going to miss out on a lot of money, because a lot of people are going to have next gen consoles this Christmas, and that's two games right there that people would have bought. Number one, that Witcher Season 2 is coming out. People bought the hell out of Witcher 3 when that first season came out. So this is another round of buys that they're going to miss out on, likely. And then Cyberpunk, as I said, people want to play it on the new shiny thing.
Exactly. Can you imagine how many people walk into a game store which is staffed by a lot of people who like to play games. And they go, what can you recommend me for my new PS5? And I'm like, well, did you ever play a Witcher game? And they're like, no, I've never played a Witcher game. What's that? Buy Witcher. Buy it now, play it, and buy it and play it, and never play anything else for the rest of your life. And you just shove it down people's throats, because I do that a lot with PS4 people. When they buy a PS4, I'm like, what should I play? Play Witcher. Just play Witcher. Play it all.
And especially, like, you know, obviously there's a lot of work goes into these things, and your timeline is what your timeline is, and it's unfortunate, but it's true, and you have to push it rather than putting out something bad. I get it. But like, if it was around Christmas season, if I worked in video game retail, I would 100%, whenever somebody says like, I've just bought a PS5 and an Xbox, what should I do? I'd be like, do you like open world experiences? Yes. Do you like dripping stories and, like, you know, visuals or whatever? It's like, yeah. As much as I don't like their company, CD Projekt have 2 fantastic choices for you here, my friend. You know, like, that would have been awesome. Anyway, look, it is what it is. But, meh. CD Projekt, what are you going to do? Speaking of game developers, though, the coolest news story I thought that came out of this week past is Eidos Montreal. Have you heard about their new work practices?
I may be slightly familiar with their new work practices, and it might be a work practice that a lot of the world is looking for at the moment.
Yeah, it's actually hotly being asked for. Like, I remember the ideas. We should explain. Eidos Montreal, the crowd who are currently working on the Guardians of the Galaxy game that's coming out this week, next week, something like that. They have implemented and are probably one of the first, if not the first, game development studio to implement the 4-day work week. So no longer is 5-day the standard over there, 4-day is the standard. And to top all that, they're not asking their employees to add an extra 2 hours to their working day in order to make up that lost day. Instead, they're like saying, no, you had 40 hours. You now have 32 hours to work. But we are going to prioritize those hours. And they, you know, not to get too much into the weeds here, but there was an awful lot in their statement that's saying, we're just going to get the best out of those hours. We're going to cut down on meetings. We're going to cut down, you know, I work I have an office job, you know. Mm-hmm. This gaming room has been my office for 2 years, but like, I work an office job. And especially since COVID, so many meetings. And when I can just block them out, I can just get so much done. Like, I can get my workday done by like lunchtime if I never had to sit in a meeting, you know?
Yeah.
And this is where this thinking is coming from, is that, like, look, the way we work it's going to be different from office to office, but the way we work today is just so antiquated that, like, how about we actually prioritize getting this stuff done rather than, you know, spending 2 hours with 30 people on a call trying to figure out the nitty gritty of something that honestly never needed to be talked about in the first place. So, like, this is where they're finding these opportunities to really wring out that last day and just take it out of the picture altogether. I'm super impressed that they took that stance, and that the higher ups, like the stakeholders or whoever, said, yeah, no worries. Like, you know, like, there must have been like a hard pitch to make that acceptable.
Yeah, especially in the times of, like, we hear so much about crunch and working down to the wire to get games made and everything. Like,
just to clarify, they haven't said that crunch is not going to happen. This is just a standard work week. So when they're not like a month away from game release, like, this is like the standard. There was specifically no mention of crunch. I was sure to read through and to see was that in there, but you would hope.
Yeah, of course. We'll see. We'll keep an eye on it, and if we hear about crunch and stuff, we'll probably tell you about it, because nobody likes crunch. But that's awesome for Eidos. Go Eidos. We hopefully more companies follow suit, because the 4-day work week would be, even though it won't benefit me in any way because I work in retail, but I would love for people to have a 4-day work week that can get it.
Yes, you know? Yes. I hope that this is a good example, because, like, I would kill for a 4-day work week. It'd be amazing. But here's the other thing as well. Montreal has an awful lot of game development studios. Like, this is going to make them very attractive to any, you know, talent that's in that area, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that'll be a very easy sell for me if somebody wanted to headhunt me from, like, one place to the place across the road, you know?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, that is that. Go Eidos Montreal. Anything else for you?
Just a couple of things. We got some video game movie trailers.
Ooh,
this week,
it's been a while.
This week and today actually, and as of recording, and last week-ish for the other one. So there's two. We finally got a trailer for the Tom Holland, Mark Wahlberg Uncharted movie, whatever the hell it's called. Uncharted, I think it's just called. I don't think there's any.
I believe
Uncharted whatever.
The Uncharted colon. There's the show name right there.
There's the show. That's the inevitable porn parody.
Writing it down.
Take that to the bank. We got a trailer for it. It features one of the kind of big iconic action set pieces from Uncharted 3, I believe.
Yes, the big air carrier thing.
Yes, that's 3. 2 is the train, right? And then 3 is the So it features the big action set piece of like the AC-30, cargo plane thingy. It looked super cool, stylish. It looks an awful lot like a mix of 4 and 3 in a movie, even though it's like a young Nathan Drake.
Yeah,
like, there's whole parts of it where it's kind of low. I'm looking at it going, that looks like it's from 4. That looks like it's from 3.
Yep.
Oh, look, that bit there is definitely from 4.
It's weird, isn't it? Like, I got the same vibes. They, like, specifically when there's parts where you can see that, Tom Holland as Nathan Drake is at a kind of like a gala party in a tuxedo, and, Marky Mark is there as Sully, and they're like talking to each other over earpieces, and specifically the joke where Tom Holland is talking to him and he has his finger in his ear like a Secret Service agent or whatever, and like Marky Mark's giving out to him saying, you look dumb or whatever, like you're going to blow our cover. That whole scene and the whole reason that they're there and what they're doing, that entire thing, even the joke, is in Uncharted 4.
Yeah.
And then, as you said, the helicarrier thing is, or the AC-130, the big plane thing, is straight out of 3, like scene for scene, it seems. There was bits and bobs I pulled out of there from 2. He mentions his brother Sam twice in the trailer. Yeah. So, that's a 4 thing. They're running the gamut. Like this is an origin story one, and this is why he's so young, and this is why Marky Mark, this is like the origin of his mustache, I'm sure. It's going to be. It'll be like, do you remember the Sonic movie where Robotnik didn't become Robotnik until the end? Mm-hmm. Guarantee you, Marky Mark will have a mustache on the last scene. It'll be like, what do you think?
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
he'll turn with a big cigar and a mustache.
Yeah, 100%. You'd be in a floral shirt. It'll be amazing. But yeah, like it does seem like they're blowing their like story load here in this origin story, which is a bit surprising. But maybe that'll make for a better movie. I don't know.
What I wonder is this right? This is an origin story for Drake or whatever. But I wonder, is it okay in the first movie? Let's give the gamer fans some of the fan servicey stuff to get them in. And then, like, if we ever do a second movie or whatever, we can just continue on and start making Uncharted stories. I mean, like, what's not to stop them making, like, 20 of these movies? Obviously, money is another thing, but, like, story-wise, you just go, oh, he has a new adventure and a new treasure to find. Much like Tomb Raider or whatever, Like,
I'm wondering, okay, so if it was me laying this out, I'll make this really quick. Like, my thoughts on it were, after watching that, going, wow, they're really putting it all into this one movie, which can be problematic, because does that mean they're going to try and bring in a lot of characters and a lot of exposition in one movie where, like, nothing will get enough time, Mm-hmm. But what I would have done for the sake of fan service and keeping people interested that know the games is, like, you don't have an awful lot that you can call on in Uncharted 1 that people really care about. Like, it is the one people say you can skip. But, like, there's origins of Nathan, and there's, like, like, there's bits in there. But, like, really, 2 is where stuff started getting memorable. So I would roll all the references of 1 and 2 into that first movie. And that'll be my loose story approximation. And then what happened in 3 could be the next movie. And then what happens in 4, like, rough approximations. Like, if you wanted to do this call outs, not the story wholesale, but if there's set pieces you want to recreate or whatever, like, space it out so you can get a trilogy out of the 4 stories. But because they're throwing everything into this one, I worry, first of all, that it's going to be rushed in that way. But then I'm positive on it because maybe this means that they're not planning a trilogy. Maybe this means that this is like a one and done. Maybe it's taken so long to make that they just went, to hell with it. Like, let's just make it the best damn Uncharted movie we can and just, get out.
Yeah, maybe. That's...
Like, have they been signed on for more than one? I'm unaware.
Not that I'm aware of, but the pessimist in me goes, get a young actor to play Nathan and get a young actor compared to Sully to play Sully so they can get a couple of movies out of them.
Yeah, but what? Like, I just don't have faith in Hollywood being able to make like an original Nathan Drake story that will be compelling, and I don't have faith in the gamer community to accept them.
No, this is true.
Do you know?
Yeah. Speaking of video game movies that are not all that compelling.
Okay.
We got a trailer for the new Resident Evil movie, the soft reboot kind of Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City.
Yes, this is the one we talked about before where the actors were getting a lot of flack because one was Asian and they just weren't the exact carbon copies of the people that were in the video games.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is about to get a lot of flack from me because it looks like a heaping trash pile that's set on fire.
So the pictures we were seeing before that looked like kind of bad, let's say, phone camera photos, they were probably more indicative than we thought.
Yes. So, like, to me, I watched this trailer and I went, nothing has changed. We are still in the Mila Jovovich, Wes, whatever that guy's name was, who directed them, her husband, who directed all the Resident Evil movies and stuff.
Yeah, what's his name? Bowe, is it?
Yeah, but I can't remember. But anyway, it still feels like we're in those Resident Evil movies. Nothing feels any different. It feels like it looks like parts of it look like, oh, they were going for the whole, the police station, Resident Evil 2 kind of thing. And then, like, the minute a zombie shows up, it's like, yeah, shotguns, flamethrowers, explosions, fucking backflips off the walls. And you're like, what?
Oh, no, is there that kind of stuff? Like,
there's some of that kind
of stuff. The
bending
of reality of, like, Matrix level type stuff.
A little bit. Not as bad as the other ones. I'm just, as in terms of, like, a movie that was always a survival horror kind of with action elements, it is an action movie. It is just an action movie with zombies, and the CGI in the trailer looked like they paid someone on that Fiverr website a tenner to do it. Fiverr.com, freelance, whatever.
That's a great comparison in 2021.
Yeah,
that's disappointing. I don't even want to watch it now because I haven't seen that one. But that sounds like
I did not walk away a happy boy. I just looked at it and went, well, there's a movie I'm not going to see.
But it's on Netflix, isn't it?
I'm still probably not going to watch it.
Is it a Netflix thing?
I think so. I can't 100% remember because the trailer left such a bad taste in my mouth. I don't think I even bothered to check who was making it.
I can't remember. I thought it was, but it's been so long since it was announced, or maybe I'm wrong. But like, if it is on Netflix or a streaming service I have, I'll check it out. Like, if it's crap, I'll turn it off. But like, I'll check it out. But it's disappointing. Like, the whole thing about Resident Evil, people get so hung up on the gore and on the freaky monsters and stuff. When I think about Resident Evil, the reason I like Resident Evil is it has so little to do with the zombies. It's the weird characters and the weird bonkers plot lines, and like Leon as a character, his development over the years has just been bizarre, and like, I'm here for it. Do you know what I mean? And it seems like every time they make something that's not a video game, they just lean into we must make sure and cram Nemesis in here, and like, we'll like they just have such a hard on for all of the special effects angles of things, and like, how can we like, remember the Matrix was cool, how can we like integrate that in here somehow and have all like Mila Jovovich doing her like roundhouse kicks and stuff. Like, all of that is just the opposite of why I come to Resident Evil. Exactly. Give me some characters, give me some tension. That's what I'm after, and that's cheap. That's easy to make.
That's I don't know. I'm not going to ramble on about it anymore. It looked crap. It looked crap. It is more of what we're used to with Resident Evil, and I wanted something different this time.
I think everybody did, but that's okay. One thing that people don't want something different from, and they've just been wanting it back, is Splinter Cell. And
This guy right here.
and that guy right there. And by golly, it seems as if we may be getting one.
We may be. There's a report floating about. That the reports from Video Game Chronicle, which is reputable enough.
They've been doing pretty good work over the last year or two, yeah?
Yeah, they claim that multiple development sources have revealed that a new Splinter Cell game is in the early phase of production.
Which I'm sure is not going to be what you want it to be.
I'm sure.
What, like, every time we've heard the like, you know, Sam Fisher turning on his goggles noise over the past 5 to 10 years, it's been like, he is now a downloadable character in a mobile game. He is now in Ghost Recon. He is, you know, so like, they don't give a crap about that franchise, I don't think. And like,
oh god, no.
I think the only reason, because you've seen recently, I can't remember what the name of the game is because it's so forgettable, but what's the free-to-play Battle Royale game that Ubisoft announced recently? It was like in the last week or two. It's the most iterative bullcrap, like, throwaway video game I've ever seen in my life. I've never been so unimpressed with a video game in my life. It'll come to me, but it's essentially trying to be the Ubisoft answer to Warzone and or Fortnite in all the worst ways. I feel, and it's Tom Clancy based, so they're using that name to bring people in, which is a shame. Like, let that poor man rest in his grave. Don't stop sullying his name. Like, but yeah, like, Splinter Cell is like one of the few modern shooter. I know it's a stealth game, but like, it has that like tactical, you know, hint to it that still carries a bit of weight, because Ghost Recon has kind of gone down.
Tactical espionage action, you might say.
Tactical espionage action. Yes, we should coin that actually.
I totally just came up with that all by myself.
Yep. CGC, lock it in. But yeah, like, I really hope for your sake, and for mine. I played through all of the GameCube Splinter Cells, or PS2 ones, I mean, recently. So like 3 years ago, recently. Yeah. But like, excuse me, the like, I do have a reverence for them. I don't really like the later ones as much, but the early ones are really, really good, and I really want them to. I haven't played that last one. What's it called? Blackgate or no?
Blacklist.
Is it? Blacklist?
Yeah, Blacklist. Splinter Cell Blacklist.
That's the last one that came out on 360.
That's the last one on 360. Yeah,
okay.
I played it. It's okay. It's not the best Splinter Cell.
I heard
game.
It was really good.
It is, story wise. It's a bit like, you know, it's
Sure.
very Tom Clancy-y. You know, you can tell yourself straight away when it's called Blacklist. You know, it's like,
come here. Like, have you played the original 3 recently? Like, the story is just naff. Like, you're never there for the story.
But the thing I will say in defense of Blacklist is it is the like most fluid and fastest moving Splinter Cell game.
That's what
like,
I've heard. Yeah.
You can enter a room and like stealth kill 5 dudes before they barely even know you're in there.
It's like the Metal Gear Solid 5 of Splinter Cell, from what I understand, in terms of like fluid movement and stuff. Like,
yes, exactly. And it was one of the first games, I think, stealth games that I played, or that I can remember playing, where when you were in cover and a person was the other side of the cover, you could grab them, pull them over, and like stealth knife them.
Brilliant.
A lot of stealth games, you had to like go around the wall and stab them in the back or whatever. And I just, at the time, was like,
Ermiger.
Yeah, and I like it for that. It sticks out in my memory for how fluid it was, which I really like in a stealth game too, because it's fun, a fun challenge to try be stealthy without all this, like, you know, waiting around the corner, kind of tracking the enemy movements, waiting for 5 minutes, and blah 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 blah. But being able to run in and pop out like 3 or 4 dudes and then continue on with your life, great, love it.
What will you do if it comes out and it's like a free to play game?
Oh, I just won't bother with it. Like, unless it's a, like, you know, stealth action, big single player experience thing with some, they can tack on multiplayer if they want, because the whole whatchamacallit that used to be really fun.
The
Assassins versus Mercs or something.
Yeah.
That was super fun, and I did enjoy playing that. It was good crack.
I always thought that should be a free to play thing. Like, that mechanic, like, that's taking the best things about like online shooter games And do you know the craze like where you have like a monster and 4 people, like Dead by Daylight and
the whole 4
Evolve
versus
and all
1
that.
kind of
That whole thing. Like that's what the mercs kind of are in that they're like your Jasons or whatever, because they're like heavily armed or whatever. But like you can be sneaky and use tactics if you're the other guys. Like I always thought that's like the perfect merge to make one of these now popular games where you have like one disadvantaged crowd with more people and one heavily powered guy. Do you know, like Splinter Cell people with very little, you know, things at their advantage or whatever, and just one dude, a heavily armored, milling people around. I'd love to play it. But yeah, if that happens, that's how I would want it to happen. But I hope, for the love of God, this is just a single player stealth game.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. I think that's all we cared about this week, Shane.
That's pretty much all I care about this week, We'll end on a high. The high of Tom Clancy and Splinter Cell and Sam Fisher.
And welcome, Tom Clancy. And join me, everyone, as we put down our night vision goggles and we say goodnight to this very podcast. Because, as we said, this is going to be a quick one. So I do want to take this opportunity to thank you if you have been watching, if you have been listening to this part of the podcast. That means you got here toward the end. And I thank you for it. Thank you for all of your support. If you haven't been here before, welcome. You did stumble across the most casual and this week quick podcast on the interwebs. And if you have been here before, thank you again for all of your support. Now, if you want to help us out, do a couple of things. Really, really, really appreciate it if you do. Like the podcast, share the podcast, rate the podcast, review the podcast if you can on Apple Podcasts or on Podcast Addict if you're on Android. That really, really, really helps. And if you want to do one thing, just one thing that is the ultimate help, you can tell a friend. Tell anyone that might enjoy this type of content about it. And I'm going to take inspiration from Blind Boy. He has been saying something recently that rings true. Don't just tell a friend about our podcast. If you are listening to any podcast that is clearly grassroots like ours, and not being run by a big corporation, tell your friends about that as well. Let's support small podcasts, you know, let's help each other, you know. But if you could tell one person about a podcast, get out there and tell Sam Fisher about the podcast. Let him stealth around listening to our podcast, much like I used to do in Metal Gear Solid 4. Enough said. Anyway, guys, this has been episode 60. Thanks again for joining us. I've been Phil.
I've been Shane.
And we are outie. Take care. Be safe. Most of all, though, stay casual. Bye!